away between West Ham and Spurs.
Okay.
We're live.
Hello, and welcome to West Ham Transfer Daily. We thought we'd do a live one today. Let you get involved as well. We've got a couple of stories here. Mohammed Kudus could be on the way to Spurs. He's apparently talking to him, and talks are going positively. And West Ham are willing to sell. So there we go. Are you bothered? That's what we're going to be asking. There is a defender. Me and Dan have been debating whether it's a defender, a midfielder, a centre back, a left back, where he's going to play. El Hadji Malik Diouf from Sparta Prague. So
I hope we sign him just so we see how Scott manages to say his name.
That'd be brilliant, wouldn't it, to see how Scott would pronounce his name. But El Hadji Malik Diouf has been turned down, but we'll be talking about that in a little bit. And could Lucas Paqueta already know his fate? And could he be going back to Brazil? So, Dan, let's get back into the first story, because I know you had a little bit of an update yesterday. Do get involved in the comments, because we want some comments on this, and we're going to be reading them out on the air at the end. So, Mohammed Kudus, Dan, you had a bit of an update yesterday, but apparently today he's been talking to Tottenham. He's open to joining Tottenham. Tottenham want him. West Ham are willing to listen to offers for him. And he could be joining one of our biggest rivals. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a sad state of where this club is right now. It's a sign, however you feel about it. The fact that we do have to sell one of our most promising talents, and he was poor last season, but he's still a very promising talent. And, you know, he's mid-20s. It just shows what a shambles we are to sell him to Spurs. You know, after... And I said this yesterday, the Scott Parker thing, that hurt me, Scott Parker. But we had to do it for a reason, because we got relegated. There's no reason like we should be in this position right now. And for him to go to, I have to question his intelligence that he's so open to going to Spurs, because Spurs are not a sure thing. Yes, they've got Champions League football now, but they're a very volatile club. They're not a club that you can bank on being there season after season after season. You know what I mean? They could be there next season, but have a disaster in the league. And then, you know what I mean? You're in Conference League the season after, or not even there. So I don't know why he's so open to joining them personally, but it's a shambles, mate.
Will you be hurt then by that, by his decision if he does go? Is it going to hurt you? But I'm going to say this. My say on it. I'm the same as you. Before you answer that, it is a sad state of affair when you have to sell one of your better players. It's like, let's say, Harry Kane and then touting him to us a couple of years ago. Like, it would be unthinkable. I don't think it's unthinkable. I don't care whether the geezer goes or not. I don't want any players here that doesn't want to play for the club. I would rather him go abroad, because that's where we get better money for him. And all likelihood is it's going to be a couple of years before we see him back in the Premier League. He's 24. But talking to our biggest rivals, I don't know whether, there are a couple of London clubs still involved. Chelsea is one of them, and they're another one that I wouldn't particularly like them to go to. But I've got to say this: he was poor. I'm pissed off of his attitude. I'm pissed off of the fact that it looks like he's bringing the mood down every time. Everything about him screams like, I want to leave, and that's fine. If you want to leave, you want to leave. Now, the only thing I'm worried about is that the fact that we've constantly refused to deal with Spurs in the past. Yeah, consistently, always said, like, wouldn't deal with them. Now we are so desperate, it seems, that we would deal with them. And he look, for all intents and purposes of what happened last season, he is a fantastic player, and he can pull up trees. He can be the difference. I mean, I can't remember what he was like in the game against Spurs. I think he was one of the better players on the day, and then he started slapping everyone about. So it was frustrating for him on that day. But he can pull up trees for Tottenham. He can be a difference maker. Probably, I'm not going to say better than anything they've got, because they've got some good players, Tottenham. But I bet it'll be up there in terms of like the standards of signings that they make. And that would be hurtful for us, because, listen, we let Declan Rice go 2 summers ago now to Arsenal, and that hurt. Now letting one of our other prospects go to Spurs just makes us a bit of a laughing stock.
Yeah, 100%. Like, when you look at it, before I get into, let me quickly read the full tweet out. Actually, just for context, I should read that out just so people know the full story. This is Fabrizio Romano. Talks between Mohammed Kudus and Tottenham on project/personal terms are underway. Positive approach. Kudus is open to joining Spurs while talks continue with both player and West Ham sides. There are 2 more clubs, as we hinted. But, you asked would it hurt? It wouldn't hurt me like Scott Parker, and he was a beloved player. He hasn't been here as long, Kudus. It would hurt that more so of an indictment of where we are as a club, that we have to sell a promising talent to Spurs. And this was what pisses me off, because why did we move to this stadium? We moved to this stadium to sell our brightest players to, London rivals. Like, it really is a slap in the face to every single West Ham fan. And it just shows you that Sullivan's not fit, to run a Bath, let alone run a football club. I'm so tired of it, man. And it's more like, before this, we was already down and had a bad feeling about the coming season. All the reports, PSR, sell to buy, and then this on top of that. I was comfortable with Kudus going, but the fact that Spurs are benefiting off it, like they're going to be strengthened off of our, misery. That's what hurts about it.
The thing that hurts as well is that, after we won that Conference League, we had the likes of Paqueta, who we will be talking about at the end, and the likes of Kudus coming in, and then last summer we had a couple more coming in, and we've never heard that there was PSR dramas. Is it PSR, PSA? PSR. I always get confused. We never heard there was any PSR dramas. But, so all of a sudden, to get to this season, and it's like we've got to sell, to buy, and all this. You get rid of Declan Rice, which was £105 million. I know we spent a lot of money last year, but then you're getting forced to sell your better players to your rivals around you. Despite this cup win, it just seems like we are completely going backwards. We are completely going backwards. We are going a little bit like what Everton have been in the last few years. Now, I know Everton have picked up a little bit in the end, but restricted by PSR, restricted by money restrictions, and exactly what you said there, mate. What did we leave Upton Park for? Now, I know that these restrictions weren't in place when we moved from Upton Park, yeah, and they're a newer thing than when we got here. But we was going to be competing with the likes of Bayern Munich and fucking Tottenham. We've got Burnley looking at our players,
Yeah.
It's, looking to pick off the bones of us. Get this man out of the club. I see people started to talk about petitions and all that. If we really are in this position, yeah, £60 million, if that's what he's going to go for, and I don't think he will go for that, but £60 million, he's not going to rebuild a squad. If you want to get to that level again, that's what we nearly paid for Paqueta. That's what we nearly paid for him. I think it's an absolute joke, and I am worried for the future of this football club, the way it's going, because £60 million, when you've just saved, you've got to have saved £500,000-700,000 a week in wages with what we've just released. Mickey Antonio, let's not forget, becomes a free agent today. We don't know what's happening with him yet. That's more wages potentially, but you're talking about Zuma off the books, Danny Ings off the books, Aaron Cresswell off the books, Lucas Fabianski off the books, remind me who else? Sufal off the books. It's a lot of money. It's a lot of money saved.
Yeah, no, exactly. And there's no reason, and we can talk about how the restrictions, PSR and FFP wasn't a thing when we left Upton Park and they made those promises, but every club has to work within that, right? And so many clubs during this era of FFP and PSR have leapfrogged us. Villa, Forest, Newcastle, Brighton, like so many of these clubs are just better run clubs. It's nothing to do with, excuses and FFP and all of that stuff. Like, they're all working with those restrictions. They're better run clubs. Newcastle have had approaches for Isak. They don't want to sell Isak. They have no intention of selling Isak. They want to keep him. Yeah. They're not sitting there touting Isak to every club who'll have him. It's the same. Villa, and I said this yesterday, You know, they was in FFP PSR trouble, and I might not agree with it, but they was resourceful. And what did they do? Well, Chelsea used the loophole. I'm going to use a loophole. We're going to sell our women's team to ourselves. Here's a stake in our women, 50 mil. There you go. We don't do that. Like there's no resourcefulness. There's no attempt to try to get ourselves out of this shit without having to sell our best players. So it just goes to show you, like, the mess we're in, and everything that we have ever achieved at this club, Europe, the trophy, has been in spite of David Sullivan. His fingerprints isn't on any of it at all. I'd not give him 1 ounce of credit. He stumbled into that situation completely. And now we're stumbling into relegation potentially next season.
Yeah, I mean, we still have to see what happens. You know, we are sort of like bolting the door after the horse is bolted, or whatever, whatever the fuck that's locking the.
You had to go. He's had to go.
Yeah, I had to go at it. Yeah, it does seem like we're trying to do that now, but you don't know, dear. It's just opened officially, the transfer window today. So let's see what happens. Listen, I'm not completely opposed to selling Kudus. I wouldn't like to send him to Spurs, but if that's where he's got to go, that's where he's got to go. It all depends, like, the money they put in after. Like, but when you've got all this and you've got the Paqueta thing looming over you, which we will be talking about in a second, it doesn't look good. Do you want to take these comments now? Or do you want to take them at the end?
Do you know what? We're on the topic, aren't we? So let's just go for it, and then otherwise we're going to be snowed under.
Yeah, it says Daniel Thompson. If everything the ball have been spouting about selling before buying is true, the fact that they have bid for Diop tells me he's already sold. I don't think he's sold yet. I think it's going to take a little bit more than that. If that little midget sells him to Spurs, and that will be a new low even for him. I reckon he would smash it for Tottenham and would smash the Champions League on his day. So please don't go there. If you drag it on with Tottenham and then sell last minute to Newcastle, is it just me, or does Kudus never seem interested? From modelling kits to scoring goals, always looks miserable. I don't think he suits our club. He has last season. I think he wasn't at the beginning. Hello, guys. Spurs want to swap Kudus for Basuma.
Really?
I
mean, I like Basuma. I think he's class, but I have to see his injury record. But that would be crazy business for us, because we could do with a player like Basuma if he stays fit.
Kudus is a little mercenary, says Trosh. Daz, we all know Kudus was going to go, but going to Tottenham is a kick in the teeth. Kudus never committed or understood West Ham or the fans. That's why he will go there. Sully, you mug, sign a petition, Hammers fans. If you don't sell to your nearest rivals, the ball can put money up there. They just choose not to. Big up, Nick and Dan. I'm a Spurs fan, and I'll be surprised if Kudus leaves to us. Taking bias away, it shouldn't really happen in normal circumstances. I'm surprised Kudus is open to joining us. There's always that Sol Campbell thing going back in the days, mate. Nothing is impossible.
Can't put it past football players, mate. Can't put it past.
No. Spurs should pay 20 million more than anyone else. They should. He's got no respect, says Daily Transfer News. To be fair, choosing Tottenham knowing the hatred we have for them. The free promoted teams won't be as bad as last season. Randy Bergstaller says there's one thing to sell Kudus, which would be an absolute nuclear decision. But then if you don't use the money wisely and get the right players, then anger of selling Kudus just hits the roof. Cockney Boy 76 says, make no mistake, we have no immediate PSR issues, and it's simply lack of ambition and investment from the ownership. I'm with you there, mate. That's what I think's going on.
Well, I want to ask you a question after this one.
Rich West Ham £5 says, thanks for the chat, lads. How was your cider, Dan? There we go.
It was lovely. I'm not a big cider drinker, but in this weather, mate, in that beer garden, it went down a treat. It's the only thing keeping me sane after this West Ham news. But yeah, like a few on the money thing, right, and the PSR. So as I was tweeting about the Kudus stuff, so people was getting back to me and they're saying that, oh, we have no PSR issues like that too. But they're like, we're cash poor. We don't have cash. That's why we can't sell our team to ourselves, because we don't have cash. And I don't buy that. Their thing is we're paying, like Sullivan's takes out loans, right? So we're paying off loans. But we make at least, say, 200 million, right? Say we make 100 million off TV, merch, season tickets, match day tickets, multiple sponsors, right? And that's just off the top of my head, right? We make all that money. So you're telling me that Sullivan has to pay all of that, say 200 mil, whatever, against the loan. Well, loans are paid in installments. So there's no reason we can't spend a penny, that we haven't got a single fucking million to spend. Like, we should have, because you pay, like I said, you've got loans, say it's hundreds of millions, like loads of clubs have loans. So you pay that off gradually while still making signings. I don't buy that we're cash poor.
Listen to this, Dan. This is a quick one. Just give me 2 seconds. Dan. I've got a bit of an emergency. Just take some.
No worries. So Matt Rain here says, I got an email today from the club saying I can get 2 more season tickets for family. What happened to the 80K waiting list? You know, it's so funny, Matt. Like you say that. Like I was talking to I was with my uncle today, and he was telling me like about there's a lot of talk that obviously a lot of fans ain't renewed, and there's not been a big uptake on fans from the waiting list. So, you know, are you surprised? Obviously, on the back of a shit season, you start putting out all of this bollocks about we got no money, we can't spend, we got to sell to buy, all of this crap. It don't surprise me. And my uncle said, I think because me and my uncle didn't renew, among other people, the ones who didn't renew will get some emails and messages soon begging us to come back. Because,
wow,
yeah, I don't think there's been a big...
That is crazy. That is crazy. When you think about, you know, the cup win, to the fact that last season they wanted to take away concessions, now they're begging you to come back. Something's totally wrong here.
Like, so all the ones that renewed, they're like, "Oh, do you want some more season tickets?" I can get a couple more.
People paid early, Dan, so they could have that privilege. You know.
Well, Matt, I don't know when Matt paid, but he's saying he got the email today. He's saying he can.
But if they're still giving it, then obviously the privilege isn't.
Yeah, so that just means that they haven't had enough uptake, and they've got season tickets left to sell. So they're trying to get people like Matt and probably yourself who did renew to buy more. But what they don't realize is a lot of people who did renew were on the fence about renewing. So they're not going to be like, yeah, give me more season tickets. They're like, I've reluctantly renewed the one I've got. So it's
absolutely mental. You know what? They fucking deserve it, Dan. That's what I would say. But there we go.
Yeah, hit them where it hurts. You've got to make and I'm not like knocking anyone that renewed and all of that. Like, you know, it was one of the hardest things I did giving it up. Part of it that was taken away out of my hands anyway. So I might have ended up doing it, but it is good because it shows them. You know what I mean? Like the fans aren't just going to keep blindly.
Do you know what I might do? Do you know what I might do as a video tomorrow? I might ring them up and ask them why I've been offered them. What happened to the waiting list?
Yeah.
Where is this wait? Where's the waiting list? You know, why are you offering me more season tickets? Why have I paid early to have that privilege, and now you're offering the privilege to everyone else?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's going to be very interesting next season, but. Yeah, they don't see, I think, what the state we're in. Like I said, so they can't be surprised. Because usually, you know, when they put out all these big stories, it's season ticket renewal time, and they'll put out stories about winning with all these top players. It's been like doom and gloom the entire time. And they wonder why people are like, well, fuck this. Like, I'm definitely not renewing now. Like, so yeah, it's a sad state of affairs, I think, for the club.
Right, let's get to the next one. A bit of positivity, although it hasn't been actually confirmed yet, and we don't know a lot about this player, but you know he seems decent. El Hadji Malik Diouf, apparently 20 million euros.
Well done. That was good.
Thanks, mate. Yeah, thanks. I've been practicing. We've been. They reckon it's worth about 18 million euros on that transfermarket.co.uk, but that's about as useless as a chocolate fire, guys, to be quite honest with you. But yeah, 18 million euros is apparently we've had a big turn down. But Romano says Champions League level player that we've bid for. I think that's a bit of positivity, you know. Let us spend some money for God's sake, you know. But that does make me think that they're getting some money in from somewhere.
Isn't Slavia Prague Kretinsky's club, or is that Sparta Prague?
Potentially. No, potentially.
I have to see because
I think it's Slavia Prague. Or, no, maybe I think it's Sparta Prague.
Is it Sparta? Because that would that would make is Sparta Prague. Oh fuck, the rivals. Never mind. Because I was going to say, that might help our case. This is the problem. Like, so I mean, it's great. Like I said, sounds like a versatile player, plays in the positions that we need, promising talent, young, ticks a lot of boxes. However, this is where there's a massive contradiction, because if we do have to sell to buy, how are we doing this? Unless the Kudus Spurs deal is closer than we know. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's closer than it's being reported, because that's the unless you're sure and you're like, well, okay, we know we're getting say 60 million for Kudus, like then you can go, well, we know that's coming in, so let's go and do that. Go and make that.
I don't know where this guy was playing last season. I'll have to have a check on that. But he got 7 goals and 2 assists from wherever he was playing. That's decent. That's decent for a left back. If he was playing left back.
Yeah, deep line midfielder, left back, centre back, and whatever position he's in, they're impressive numbers for that position, because that's not going to be his main job.
Troy says we got TV cash today.
Oh, that come in today, yeah. So where's that gone?
Don't know.
Like, so that's what I'm saying. It can't say we get 100 mil TV. It's on average, in it 100 mil a season. You're not telling me like that goes 100 mil on loans, like that we've got to pay back, right? 100 mil pay back a loan. That makes no sense.
So, I think it's more to do with like the rate that you're spending over the seasons, like rather than, we might have the cash, but we can't spend it because we've spent too much over the last few seasons, which is absolutely bollocks, because we're getting back Declan Rice money. It's all nonsense. It's all bollocks, in my opinion.
Yeah. It's so hard to know what to fucking believe these days. But yeah, let me see. So I heard someone saying it looks like we'll get him. If there's been any update. Personal terms. This is according to football. Oh. This is according to Knees Up Brother Brown. I love Costia, but he's had some misses lately. Bless him. But he's saying personal terms have been agreed with El Hadji Malik Diouf. Only the transfer fee stands in the way.
It'd be thingy. Daniel Cummings did come today. As I said, Mikel Antonio officially is a free transfer as from today. But the other story is Lucas Paqueta. Now, I did see earlier that they sort of seem to have accepted the fact that he may get a 4-year ban, which has scared West Ham into it. But apparently that's not quite true. I've got to say this, Dan. Apparently we're looking at 30 million euros from wherever he goes. That's a 21 million euro loss for Brazil's number 10, who's 27 years old, which is absolutely mental, in my opinion. But he wants to return back to Flamengo. Now that shouts to me, I'm going home. Fuck all this shit.
Yeah. But this, do you know what that reminds me of? Payet. Another talented player that could have gone to top clubs, but went back home for reasons outside of football. So we took a massive loss. Like Payet back then could have been like a 75, 80 mil player at that time. Like nowadays, over 100 mil. Paqueta, Man City were ready to pay 85 million pounds for him. And now we're talking about 21 million quid. That is, and this is the thing. Like, so I don't believe any talk about that predicts Paqueta's sentence and he's going to get found guilty. There's just, to me, I don't think there's much way of knowing that. However, this just goes to show, like, if he does get away with it and we end up having to sell him on the cheap, we have to sue. We have to, because that is cost
to make up the money.
Millions.
The money that was spent, the money that we've lost. The years that we've lost with him, he's value would decrease over every year. We could potentially turn around and say, well, if he didn't get this, and he would have only been 25 when we sold him, and we could have got 100 million for him, and there's all sorts of these legal ramifications, and they've kept us on a string for 2 years. But going back to Flamengo seems to me like he's just putting his hands up and going, fuck all this. I just want to go home now, play my football.
I understand why he wouldn't want to play in England anymore, right? The problem is obviously with the FA.
Yeah.
But, like, that doesn't necessarily mean he can't go other places around. Like, I think he was still linked with Saudi. Like, go and just collect that paycheck. I don't know how much Flamingo are going to be able to pay him a wage compared to what we're paying him, like well over 100 grand a week. He's not going to get that over there. So that's something to consider. Like now he's in a situation, like he's going to basically at his age, sort of like retiring. I know it's not retiring like going to America or something, but do you know what I mean? He can play for top clubs in Europe still. I think that'd be a hasty decision. I understand why you would feel that way, but I think it'd be hasty. But I just hope we can get something decent, at least our money back. At least that. Such a shame, man, because he has a lot of talent.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's it. I think we'll wrap it up for today. If anyone can send me that email by DM on Twitter at NickyJ82, I might ring West Ham tomorrow, record a video about it, and ask them where the fucking waiting list's gone and why they're offering more season tickets and what happened to the people that paid early, why they paid early, etc., etc. Get some fucking answers for a change.
Yeah. Find out what the hell's going on. But I will be very interested to see how the stadium is looking next season, how full it is in games, how many fans have actually renewed. You know, because I think people was trying to report like, oh, we had good numbers and actually renewing, like Sean was reporting that.
Somebody said to me about the other day, I don't know if you see it on Twitter, somebody sort of called us out and said, there's a very controversial thing going on about David Sullivan at the minute. I won't talk about it, as I went on to say. And he said, why don't you talk about this? And some guys like he dropped the mic, like we're trying to sweep it under the carpet. I'm like, listen, if it's true, we'll talk about it. You know what I mean? Like, and that's about all of the football club. It doesn't matter what it is. We'll always talk about it. But until this, is found guilty, we can't talk about anything because
use your common sense. Like if we start going around and saying he's this and he's done that and done this, right, when it comes to criminal situations, he's going to sue us. Like I know people may think
he will sue us.
He will sue us. And he would love to sue us. And people may think just because we're on bloody YouTube, we're rich. We're really not. We're really not. We can't afford to be sued. No, he'll sue us for everything we've got. So, like, listen, you talk about all you want, but until there's a case and there's a trial and we can know what we say, listen, I have I hope that justice prevails in whatever direction it needs to. Yeah. So that's all I have to say. I can say about that.
Yeah, me too. But there we go. Thank you very much for joining us on Transfer Daily. If we've got any updates, we'll join us tomorrow. But thank you very much. We will be on Friday Night Pint this week. Well, I will be anyway. I don't know about Daniel.
Yeah, should be.
Yeah, so keep up with the content. Thank you very much. One thing left to say.
Come on.